All right, and we are live. Hey, everybody, what's going on? Thank you guys so much for checking out this interview. This is my first interview that I've done with one of my assistant coaches, and I have a special guest for you guys today. This is the one and only Cassidy Cuevas. So going into kind of like how Cassidy and I actually met, I believe the first time we met was actually when I worked with her husband, Matthew Cuevas. I prepped him for a bodybuilding show, and I had the opportunity and the privilege to meet Cassidy. And from that point in time, I then realized that she was actually involved in the competition space, right, Cass?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe she had won the Europa show in Orlando. I think it was. Well, what year was that?
Yeah, that was 2014, so like 5 years ago already.
Yeah, very cool. And then obviously, like Matthew and I stayed in communication. Realized that Cassidy was actually a gym owner, so she owns In Gear Fitness down in what part of Florida?
Stuart, Florida.
Down in Stuart, Florida. So she's been a gym owner now for a few years, operates In Gear down there. And a couple of years after I kind of worked with, I worked with Matthew for a bodybuilding show, Cassidy reached out to me and asked me to help coach her, which I was very, very fortunate to have had the opportunity to coach her, because a couple minutes speaking with Cassidy, you will very quickly realize what type of person she is. And she's just the type of person that you need to have in your life. All right. Now, I decided after working with her for a few months that I actually wanted her to be able to help other people, because just from talking to her, there were times in our conversations, I wasn't really sure who was coaching who. So I'm like, all right, this is the person, this is the personality. She has all the amazing character traits of an amazing coach. And I would love for her to be able to help us help more people. And plus, I just believe that all good people in the world are, they should be provided some type of amazing opportunity to be able to really show the world what they're capable of. So since then, Cassidy has started coaching for Metabolic Evolution. And I thought that for a lot of you up-and-coming coaches, or a lot of you new coaches, that interviewing her would be an amazing, amazing idea, just because I know that she has so much positive, so much amazing information to be able to offer you guys just through a simple opportunity like this. So Cassidy and I both are firm believers in the Lord, and I always believe that the Lord always places specific people in your life for a specific reason, and I feel the same way about Cassidy. So without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and get this interview rocking and rolling. So Cassidy, thank you so, so much for joining me in my very first interview I've ever done.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be able to speak to everybody here at Boca and interview with you. So.
Awesome. Well, guys, we're just going to go ahead and cut straight to the chase. I'm just going to go ahead and ask Cassidy one of the deepest questions you can ask anybody. Cassidy?
Yes.
Who is Cassidy Cuevas?
So, it's funny, like I've been asked that before, actually, by my husband before we got married and when we first started talking. And so like, I've kind of like really thought about that over the last, like 6-7 years, and kind of, that's a question that always the Lord, puts on my heart. And I kind of summarized it to a few things. So the first one's a helper. Like I absolutely love people. Like, and I always have been that way from when I was young. I was always like the helper of my friends, and always just like the person that kind of like the Lord brought everybody to impact them in some way. And what's funny about that is I've always been very shy and very timid my whole life. So it's, when I've had the opportunity to help others, I kind of think like, why me? Like, I was always kind of walking in that like non-confident space. But now I've realized that is a definite purpose that I have, is to help others, whether it be fitness, obviously that's my career. So that's the huge part, but then also just even like through life and just being present in other people's conversations, whether it be about anything, just being that listener. I would say that's key for me of who I am as a person and as a helper. And then number two, I am just someone who loves to be creative. Like I really feel that there's so much opportunity in the world to help others, and that there's such a lack of resources for people, especially for those that really do have genuine intentions. I feel like there's almost like a spotlight on almost the ungenuine, that I feel like people that really have a heart for other people need to be heard. So I feel like as someone who loves to create, like I want to try to create as much content and as much things to help other people as I can. And that's what I love doing. I'm very, very much a creative person, whether it be with my gym, with clients, I love to create. So that would be number 2. But number 3, and realistically, this should be my number 1, which it is. But first and foremost, I'm a daughter of the Lord. So, you know, when I coach people, when I talk to people in general, you know, like my fitness clients, I don't think of them as just my fitness clients. Like I'm looking at them as the person. So to define who I am would just really be like, I'm someone that wants to build others up. Like I see the best in other people. I don't look at people, no matter what they've been through, as, you know, something bad or negative, or I try to really see like the light in every single person. So with everything I do, that's what kind of carries me through, what motivates me so much in growing my business and just growing as a person, is being able to be better for others. So I
I
think that's
love that.
a summary of
Love
it.
it.
I'm sorry that was
Yeah.
long.
No, absolutely. That was phenomenal. I want to, just highlight you for a couple of things. And the first thing obviously is that I feel like kind of you and I both are essentially utilizing our connection with the Lord to be able to help so many other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, you kind of started talking about how you got into fitness and things like that, the fact that you love to be a creative. And then obviously you being, a daughter of the Lord, being a woman of faith, and utilizing that to be able to impact your clients. It's kind of like that's your service to the world. So with fitness being like that number one thing that has allowed you or given you the vessel to be able to carry people along, how did you actually get involved in fitness?
Yeah, so my fitness journey was not something that like I envisioned pursuing, weird enough. So when I was in high school, I moved actually to a different town. So I went to this high school where I knew absolutely no one. And for me, being a Christian, like I grew up with very different moral values than most of my peers. So I was highly made fun of in high school. I didn't fit in with anybody. I remember just eating lunch in the bathroom, like, or my teacher's classroom, like sobbing.
Wow.
Had like no one. And, you know, at the time I wasn't dating my husband. I didn't really have anyone. My friends moved away. So, you know, it was really tough for me. And my mom saw that I was struggling. My mom's an amazing person. She saw that I was really struggling, and it wasn't just like, you know, me saying that I wasn't doing well. I mean, I realistically had a very hard time. So she had started going to this gym that was local in our town. It was kind of like our city center's gym. And she's like, there's some really nice people there. Some of them are around your age, a little bit older. I think you should go and check it out and, you know, maybe get involved in the gym. That might be something that's good for you. So I was like, all right. At the time I hated working out. I was like, you know, the least athletic person. I competed in horseback riding for many, many years, and that was my sport, but I wasn't very much into fitness or eating healthy. Well, when I started going to the gym, within the first session, I got into weight training with a coach there. Like I was never like one of those girls that started off like as a cardio bunny, so to say. Like I just kind of got right into weight training. And I found how much it really empowered me, and it kind of like took me away from the negativity that I was facing every day in high school, and it just gave me something positive to really work on my everyday life. So I really became obsessed with it. It was the one thing that I could control. So I became very, very obsessed. And I was 15 at the time. And I'm 23 now, so I was 15 then when I started. And I at first did it for all the right reasons. You know, I was researching and I was eating well. I started changing my diet, and I was, you know, weight training probably 5 days a week at that point. But then it kind of very much spiraled out of control into something not so positive. And this is something that I tell all of my clients. I tell my kind of testimony with this because I've been there, but it spiraled into a very bad eating disorder for at least 3 years of my life. It could have been even 4, but it was at least 3 years of, you know, just horrible body image issues and orthorexia, and it was horrible. And I dropped like 30 pounds within 2 months. I wouldn't eat anything. I was very much isolated. I didn't talk to anybody that wasn't in my gym. And that was basically my life for that time. And it was a very dark place that I was in. And it was crazy because I started off this journey as something to be positive, and it turned into like such a different direction. And then I remember one day I went to a new church, and like the Lord just like started speaking over me, like all these things that like kind of almost giving me that confidence that I lacked for so long, and just reassuring me like, you're an amazing person. Like, this is not your identity. And I just like broke. And in that moment, I realized, oh my gosh, like this is not what fitness is supposed to be. This is not this. I'm living a lie, basically. And from that moment forward, like the Lord just brought me to like so much knowledge of really what proper nutrition was. Like he put me with the right mentors and the right people. And I started like, I found your content, I found Lane, I found all these things. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's a whole other side to this. I can actually do this in a normal, healthy way. So I got completely recovered from that through the Lord, and then through different mentors, through education. I attended probably every seminar that I could possibly find with every well-known fitness person, because I just had like such a drive to learn the right way to do things so that nobody had to go through what I went through. And so in that drive, I really decided, I was like, man, I really want to be like a personal trainer. And, before I made that decision, I got into bodybuilding, competing, and I actually competed using flexible dieting. So I saw, like that I could actually prep for a show and essentially not have to like be a slave to tilapia for every single meal. And I like,
Right.
it's empowering. So I was like, man, I want other women to feel that, other people to feel that, because there's too much misinformation out there. So I kind of went on a quest to like learn as much as I possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very, very insecure still at the time. So when I got my personal training certification, instead of going and working at a gym, I started online coaching, because I was like, well, I can talk to people, like internet, like it's not as, like I don't have to be as social, which at the time I was like, this is great. Like I'm really shy, but I can still help a lot of people. And, I had a few clients that did really, really well, and I was seeing really great results. And, but I felt like the Lord was pushing me into something like bigger. So there was one day I was at church, and like I got a clear like word from the Lord that like you are going to own your own like fitness business one day. And I was like, it's kind of like, I don't think so, because like I'm just not that confident. Like I didn't see myself as like doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And like a month later, I get a call from this gym who I happen to know the owners of really well. And they're like, we need another personal trainer on staff. Are you willing to come over? And I like contemplated it. I prayed about it, and I was like, no, this is the right decision. So I went, and literally within 8 months, the two other coaches moved. I became the manager of the gym. I had all the clients, and I bought the gym from them within an 8-month time frame. And it was just like, it all just like fell into place. And there's like, I worked my butt off. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like I hustled hard, but I knew in my heart, like that my passion was to help other people. And the Lord was clearly like, this is your opportunity. And, and it's crazy, because if I didn't take that, like my life would be totally different right now. So, now that like, I'm in this position, I've got to use what I went through and help others not go through that, and actually properly educate them and in a space that's my own, which is amazing. So, now I don't compete in bodybuilding anymore, maybe one day again, but I compete in powerlifting for the last 5 years. And the Lord really brought me to that, because I could train for strength and not necessarily worry about my body image as much. So that was super freeing for me. So that's what I do and compete in now. But it's just crazy how the Lord kind of like established that passion in my heart. And then like years later, it just kind of came to fruition. So that's basically how I got started. And now I am an athlete, I coach people, and this is kind of where I am now in my fitness journey. So.
Wow. That is such a powerful story. I just want to first and foremost say thank you for being so open, so vulnerable. I think that oftentimes a lot of people are relatively fearful to be as vulnerable as you just were within just you answering that question. And I believe that there's a lot of power there, because here's the thing. If we go back throughout all of what Cassidy just said and we connect those dots, right? Her ability to be vulnerable and openly communicate the struggles that she's gone through, right, led her into, kind of that experience was very painful for her. It was so painful for her that she then therefore wanted to go and educate herself so that she could help other people navigate away from the pain that she had to personally feel internally.
Yeah.
So think about that, guys. A lot of you who are here, you're holding back a lot of things because you're scared of being judged. You're fearful that people are going to ridicule you and say negative things about you. But the truth of the matter is that when you finally let go of the chains that hold you down and you are set free, you can then therefore go out into the world and positively make a huge impact. And again, you never know what's going to come to you as long as you just put yourself in the right position. Or like in Cassidy's place, the Lord basically brought her into a position of power where now she has the opportunity to massively, impact so many people down there in her hometown area of Stuart, Florida. So Cassidy, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Oh, of course.
So yeah, absolutely. So I did want to ask you before we really get into like the business ownership and all of that, because those of you who may have missed that, Cassidy does own a gym. She does work both online and in person. I'd like to know really like what are the things that you can do in your everyday life that just light you up, that really give you life, that no matter every time you do them, you smile from ear to ear and you are just your happiest. What are those things?
Like work related or just in general?
Life. Yeah, anything.
So funny enough, like how I relate to the Lord and what kind of has always been like my secret passion that I really don't even tell anybody, but I love to sing. So
Oh, wow.
I'm feeling really overwhelmed, or I just feel like I need to like kind of pause and like kind of reset myself. Some people read or some people watch TV. Like I really enjoy singing, and I feel like it brings out kind of another creative side of me that like I didn't don't really realize that I have. So for me, I just love doing that. Or I really like to like listen to like podcasts or things that can really help me in my everyday life just be a better business owner and a better coach. So either two of those things kind of like really recenter me. And then I'm able to just like kind of have my passion like relit again. But I really enjoy that. And obviously I love spending time with my husband. He's my rock, and he's the reason like I wouldn't even be where I am today if it wasn't for him. So he's just such a massive influence in my life. So I love spending time with him, and we love taking our dogs to the dog park and just kind of like relaxing and enjoying nature. Like we live in such a beautiful place. I'm sorry, you guys that don't live in Florida, but it's sunny. So as much as we can be outside, we try to be, so just like taking them out for a walk or something is how I kind of enjoy my day to day too. So.
Well, that's amazing, because I just learned something new about you. I didn't even know you liked to sing.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Very cool. And I think like a big key takeaway for that is that you really have to be able to prioritize yourself and your life, so that therefore you can make sure that your cup is full. And then now you can go out and actively serve other people. Because if you try to serve other people from an empty cup, it becomes very, very challenging. And then it also can actually build some almost like a remorse type of thing, to where you're like, I'm not even taking care of myself. So the fact that you said it was something that really lights you up first, and then it was, obviously, doing like your coaching, your job and all of that, and then hang out with your husband and all of that, those two things essentially give you the opportunity, give you a full cup to be able to go out and impact the world. So all of you guys who are listening to this, I think that that's something that you really need to be able to take away from this, is make sure that you are always prioritizing yourself, because ultimately we work in a service-based business and we have to go out and change the world, but you have to take care of yourself before you can do that. So yeah. So starting out, like, because this is a pretty insane story. I mean, you go from being a competitor to then therefore, getting an opportunity to be a trainer. You go into the gym, you're the best trainer there. People leave, then you just buy the place, and then now you're the owner of the gym, and now you have coaches and trainers that work under you. So how did this, like, I guess, how did you get started in that? Or like, what are a few things that you could provide for us in regards to the startup process that maybe you wish you knew back then that you know now, that could potentially help some people who may be interested in opening gyms?
So the first thing, and you kind of touched on this earlier, is really not caring about what other people think. Because I was actually in college at the time where this opportunity came up, and I was actually in school going to become an RD. I had 2 years left. So I had my internship, and I had 2 years plus an internship left to finish my registered dietitian degree.
Yeah.
And I was in my last class of my associates of my undergrad. when this opportunity, I got a lot of flack from a lot of people when I was considering buying in gear because I was already in college. I basically would have been throwing away my college education to take on entrepreneurship. And I've always come from a family, like my parents have been very supportive of me. They're entrepreneurs, and I grew up always with them owning their own businesses. So I have a very entrepreneurial mindset from the get-go. That's just something that I love. I'm a very creative person. That I really like, it weighed on me, like, am I making the right decision? Because I was listening to all these other people that were telling me, like, you're going to fail, you need to go through college and blah, blah, blah. And I had to just kind of like shut those things out. So the first thing would just be like making a decision, because realistically, if you can kind of get rid of like the financial aspect, the time aspect, like it all comes down to your belief in yourself. Like if you don't believe that you're going to be a good entrepreneur, like it's never going to happen. So the first thing that I had to do, like, to just really to get it started is like believe in myself and not listen to other people's opinions. Granted, you want to listen to mentors, like don't also be like in your own head where you think you can come up with like get advice, but don't listen to the people that are trying to talk you out of it if it's something that you really believe that you're called to do, because you can always figure it out along the way. The next thing is have a financial plan. Obviously, taking on a business is a huge task. So if it's something that you're not prepared for financially and you don't know about financially, get educated. I was in the fortunate position where I had family that believed in me, so they were willing to invest in gear for me to be able to buy it. So with some of my own finances and then from family, that's how I was able to actually do it. But then from here on out, you just have to make, kind of like smarter decisions of what's going to be best for the company. But starting out, I would definitely say have a financial plan, because you don't want to overtake too much than, kind of what you can handle, especially like look at the area that you're in. So if you're looking at to actually open up a physical gym, look at your competition, look at the area, look at rent spaces. If you don't know all of this stuff and you go in blind, you're going to end up in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and you're going to be paying it off for the rest of your life. And then you're really going to resent your business because you're not making anything. So I would say get educated on the financial spectrum first. Really have a lot of self-confidence in what you're going to do. Get advice and have a vision. Because if you kind of go in like, I want to open up a gym or I want to be a fitness coach, but you don't have a niche, you're going to kind of get lost in the sea of like LA Fitness or like, all these other online influencers. So regardless if you do in person or online, just have a vision of like what you want the company to be and how you're going to stand out. Because that's really crucial to be able to stay on top of that as you go through and evolve. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love the first thing you said. I mean, if I could give any advice to somebody who's just starting out in a business, my God, I mean, it is, do not listen to the naysayers. I cannot tell you guys how many people told me I was full of crap when I wanted to start an online business in 2009 to 2010. Because back then, it really wasn't something that people did. And back then I was young, obviously. I didn't have a lot of really solid experience. I mean, I was fresh out of college, and obviously college does not prepare us for entrepreneurship. And it's very easy to listen to the people that you have connected with your entire life, right? Like your best friends, your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your girlfriend, your girlfriend's parents. Like those are the people that are directly in like your atmosphere. Those are the people that you listen to on a daily basis. So you tend to want to take their word for what it is. And in most cases, we think that our parents know a lot and other people that are around us know better than we do. However, the thing that you cannot ignore is the voice that's coming out of here. Like the voice that's coming out of the inside you. You really have to be able to take the time and listen to that and ignore the naysayers if you're somebody who is extremely passionate about pursuing a career in either online coaching, personal training, owning a gym, starting any kind of fitness program, whatever that thing is. Just listen to yourself. And just like Cassidy said, make sure that you're really in a position to put yourself in a position to be successful. Meaning, some variables that she was talking about is like, if you're planning on opening a gym, financially, make sure you have all that stuff buttoned up. Make sure you already have some finances in your budget to be able to spend on a facility, to be able to go all in on that. And it probably wouldn't help you to hire some type of mentorship, at least to get somebody who's done it before, who's been successful with it, because there's going to be a lot of things that are going to try to jump in your way when you're trying to open up a facility. All right. So we'll just go ahead and move on through this interview. Now, obviously, you know, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows opening up your gym, and it was all beautiful.
Oh,
And
no.
like, it's like a dream for like an online coach or like a personal trainer to have their own gym. But let's talk to those people for a little bit, because there's going to be mistakes. Like everything that I've done, I've failed at before I actually won. Right. So what are some things that you failed at when you started out your business? Or let's say, like, what were some big roadblocks that were in your road to getting you to where you are now?
So the absolute biggest roadblock when I bought the gym was I was the sole employee.
Mm.
So I bought the gym knowing I have absolutely no one to help me. I am now the head coach of all of these clients. I have to run the entire business. I'm the marketing director. I'm the everything. So the biggest mistake going in my opinion,
Wow.
was I felt like throughout the process of buying the gym that I should have recruited like a really good employee off the bat. And that was something that I was so overwhelmed with, like, because I was still working for the gym as I was in the process of buying it. So I was the coach doing the 5 a.m. to the 11 a.m. and then coming back from, 4 to like 9 every single day. So, I think I should have sought out either myself or, somebody else that I trust, like, kind of an off the bat employee, so that I wasn't completely overwhelmed upon buying the gym. Another mistake that I have made is hiring the wrong person. I've had to let go of 2 different coaches since buying the gym. I've owned the gym now for 2 years. I've had to let go of 2 main coaches because I made a bad hire, and that happens. You're going to make mistakes. Like in everything, what people have to realize too is, as a company owner, everything falls down on you. So you can't sit here and blame other people. Like, you have to just own up to your mistakes and understand that like mistakes and failures help you grow. So I 100% take fault for that I hired the wrong coaches, and it cost me some business because of it. So, I think that if you're someone looking to open up a facility, like, think about your team and who you want on your team, because your team has to be a reflection of you. And if you guys are not on the same page, at least with, your morals and just like the vision for the company, it's going to go down south really quickly. And you have to remember that, people, like, first impressions matter the most. So if somebody, has a bad experience with one of your employees, they may not come back just because you got rid of them. I mean, like, that's their first impression. So building your team is super, super crucial when it comes to that. So that would be a mistake that I made, was hiring the wrong people. The team I have now are fabulous. So I'm very, very thankful for them. I've learned from that mistake. Another thing is not making any time for myself whatsoever. Like the first year of owning the gym, I think there was 1 month where I literally worked out one time the entire month. One time. Like, I mean, and I'm a coach, I'm a personal trainer, like, and I didn't work out myself for a long time. I gave up powerlifting. I literally was on 4 hours of sleep every single night. Again, because I didn't have other employees, in the one that I had hired off the bat didn't end up working out. So I had absolutely no time for myself. I really lost touch with a lot of people that I was very close with. So I kind of sabotaged relationships in a sense, which when you're an entrepreneur, there are times where you really have to dig in and push, and people have to be understanding of that. But when it comes to a point where you're completely shut out from society for like a year straight, like, that's not healthy either. And you really can't be passionate about your business if your cup is empty 24/7. So that was a huge mistake that I made, was basically running off an empty cup for probably over a year. So if I could go back in time, I would definitely change that, and I would, continue working out and get more sleep. And again, like I said, focus on building a team. And then I would say the biggest mistake, and this is something that I still wrestle with now, is like having a perfectionist mindset, because I'm very much like, I'm afraid to delegate things because I know that, like, I want them done a certain way. So I think when you're a fitness coach or an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow beyond yourself, you have to be willing to let go, and to understand that if you put a good team in place and you trust these people, and you give them clear direction, like, they're going to deliver great. It's like, if you're expecting 100% and nothing's getting done because you're the only one doing it, versus it's better to get 80% and have everything done. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's crucial, is that, kind of getting out of that perfectionistic mindset, because that's something that I wrestled with and still do on a day-to-day basis. I have to constantly, like, swallow my perfectionistic mindset and be like, nope, it's okay, just let them handle it.
Yeah, I 100% understand that. I mean, I think those of us who are like perfectionists who essentially feel like we can do it better than the next person are typically the ones who have an entrepreneurial mindset as well, right? It's because we do not want to be employed by somebody else that's essentially calling the shots, because if we feel like we can do a better job at that, then why wouldn't we do it all on our own? So there's a couple of things I wanted to highlight there for a second, and it's basically because a lot of these people that are listening to this are probably new online coaches. And what Cassidy said was, like, she put herself in a position of being a solopreneur, like the one and only, responsible for everything. And at the time, she took on every single client that her gym had, not to mention every single responsibility of the gym. Guys, could you imagine that? So think about this. The same way that you create a customized plan for your nutrition, the same way you create a customized plan for your training, create a customized plan for your business. I cannot reiterate this enough, guys, because here's the thing. If Cassidy could go back in time, you probably could guarantee she probably would have started the gym having at least 1 to 2 employees to help her with the client load, so that now going into being the owner, now she could transition more into the owner and not necessarily have to train. I don't know how many clients your facility had, but I know you were operating in groups and you were slam packed full. And then you're reaching the point of you being burned out, right? So you could have essentially just avoided all of that by just having or listening to somebody just like Cassidy's telling you guys right now. Is if you have that aspiration, try to find quality help. Now, I'd say probably my best advice for trying to find quality help, guys, is to look at your previous roster of clients that you've worked with. Look at the people who have been extremely inquisitive. They're really sharp. They're kind of out of the box thinkers, the ones that are always laser locked in on their goals, because I can guarantee you, throughout my experience of being an online coach, now having 3 coaches that work with Metabolic Evolution, potentially bringing on another one soon, they've been people that I've worked with, that I've observed them, and I've been able to reach out to them and offer them opportunities to come on board. And so far, I've made a lot of really good decisions. So food for thought for you guys. I'll also go ahead and kind of segue this into the understanding of when you're trying to find help and you are a perfectionist, there's an 80-20 rule, right? Like every entrepreneur that's ever tried to scale a business knows the 80-20 rule. If you can find somebody that can do your job 80% as good as you, hire them. Okay. Now, what I'll also say is, do not hire based off of just education and potentially skill set.
Yes.
I believe you should hire individuals for themselves, for their personalities, because the intricacies of being an online coach, I feel like if you have enough time, those things can actually be taught over time. Now, if you can find somebody, like, as an example, if you can find somebody like a Cassidy, who is a diamond in the rough, who's a unicorn, she's already very, very intelligent. And now I know she can do probably a better job than I can at the majority of things. Obviously, I'm going to want her to be on my team because I know what kind of person she is, and I know that she can massively help influence other people's lives. So just keep that in mind as you guys are growing your companies. And let's go ahead and talk about something really quick too, because I think a lot of people, they don't know when to bring on an assistant. They don't know like how many clients and responsibilities and all of this. So if, let's say, for instance, Cass, let me ask you a question, is how many clients do you think you could handle all on your own, handling everything without bringing on an assistant?
Would this be in person or online?
We'll do online for the sake of this interview.
And I would say it really just depends on your time of day that you have, but
we're talking about fully committing to online coaching.
Okay. Fully committing. I mean, I wouldn't spread yourself more than like 30 clients. I mean, realistically, because you gotta think about, and this could be with any business, but even, online versus in person, is if quality suffers even 10%, hire somebody, because the whole goal is to be 100% of a coach to those people. So if you're spreading yourself too thin to the point where those clients are suffering because now your quality has gone down, you should have already hired somebody. Don't take on more than what you can chew. So like, for example, like in Gear, I don't take on any new clients whatsoever. Any new client that walks in our door, I immediately pass off to my coaches, because for me, like my roster at In Gear is where I want it to be. I'm happy. I can fully service all of my clients and all my online clients. Like I don't need any more in-person clients per se. So that's how I can rely on my team, and I've trained them well enough to be able to do, you know, what I expect them to do with the clients, and I know that they can take it on no problem. But if you're somebody who, you know, your quality is suffering, or even just like your family life is suffering, like if you're spending, like I understand working hard, like obviously there's times where you have to grind, but people take that to the other extreme, to where now your family life is suffering, your wife, husband doesn't ever see you, your boyfriend, girlfriend doesn't ever see you, your kids don't see you, and you're just shut in this room working on online clients for 15 hours a day. Like you need to hire somebody, because you're going to get burned out very quickly. Your family's not going to be very happy with you, and then really what's the point of success anyways if you have no one around you to enjoy it with? So hire somebody. Yeah, you might lose a little bit of money, but wouldn't you rather give your clients better quality service than take on every single person just because? Like that's not the name of the game. So clients are people, they're not dollar signs, you know?
Exactly. I absolutely love that response. I think it's super powerful. The people who are listening to this, who are in that position, guys, like really listen to that, because here's the thing. And again, guys, I always speak to you just from personal experience, right? And what Cassidy said is spot on the money. I mean, so accurate. At my peak, and this is not me bragging, this is me telling you how much of an idiot I was. At my peak, I was working with like 125 clients. Okay. I was answering emails, doing all the work and everything for between 16 and 18 hours a day. Okay. I should have hired an assistant at 30 to 40 clients when I was full time. If I would have done that, Metabolic Evolution would have been able to grow and scale years ago. But I didn't, because I actually stopped myself from growing and expanding. So think about that. If I could parenthesis something, you know, do not allow yourself to limit yourself from your true potential. I've worked with a lot of coaches for mentorship as well. And when we get them to about like 20 to 30 clients, I actually think it's probably a good idea for them to have some type of assistance.
Yeah.
Now, when we're talking about assistance, again, we're looking at, let's take a look at my client roster, and let's say, who's the person that's really standing out to me? Who do I feel like has the attributes of being an amazing coach, which we're actually going to talk about in a second. And who do I feel like I could actually partner with to be able to help serve the clients of XX business? All right. So be mindful of that, guys. Do not allow yourself to limit yourself. Cassidy, I think you absolutely knocked that one out of the park. So with regards to the attributes that you feel like make up a really good coach, and keep in mind that this is coming from somebody who observed these same things in Cassidy. And that's why I wanted her to be with me to be able to help our clients. So what do you feel like the key attributes are? Let's say top 5 key attributes that you would essentially look for if you were in the position of hiring a new employee for In Gear or for your future online company.
Okay, so number one, and we've talked about this several times, you and I, is empathy. And I'll even give you a backstory on this to support it. But if you cannot empathize, I can say that, empathize with other people, and you can't look at the person past a dollar sign and understand that they're human, like you might as well not even be a coach. And I'm saying that so bluntly because I see these people that are so stuck on just the education qualities of coaching and I need to have these 20 different certifications and then I'll be a good coach. Like, if that person can't resonate and empathize, I can't even say this word today. Oh my gosh. With other people, it really doesn't matter. Like nobody's going to want to coach with you if how many certifications that you have if you're not a real human being, and you can't put yourself in their shoes, you know, like, I have several clients that are single moms, or that, you know, just lost their spouse, or, you know, are in very, very real and very hard situations, and they're trying to better themselves. And if all I gave to them was a bunch of information constantly spit in their face about training and nutrition, like, what is that realistically going to do for them? Like, down the road, yeah, they'll get the info, yeah, they'll do things correctly, but like, are you really changing their lives past just their physical body, or could they get that from anybody else as well? You know what I'm saying? You have to think about impact and how you're really like creating relationships with other people. So I would say that's number one, is just meeting people.
That is such an insightful response.
Oh, thank you.
That response is beautiful, and I agree 1,000%. Empathy is the number one thing. So let's go ahead. Actually, you know what? Let's do a top three. Let's go ahead and do top three.
So I would say that's number one. Number two, I would say not being closed-minded. You have to be open-minded. I see so many other coaches fail, or they don't succeed past the point, you know, past a certain point, because they're so closed-minded about either their actual knowledge on training and nutrition, or their just ideals of their clients. Like, for instance, like, I had one of my coaches that I brought on, he was so focused on like just training athletes, that like he was kind of closed-minded to like training anybody else, or like servicing anybody else. I'm like, listen, like, you're not going to grow if you're, you know, like, that's not like the only thing you can do. Like, you need to be open-minded to other training techniques, to other people, to like working with other individuals, because, you know, when it comes down to it, you have more of an impact that way. So I would say that, you know, very much like, I mean, you guys probably all see it. That's why you're in FOCA. Like, as you see these bad coaches online that they're so closed-minded in their ways, they're like still stuck in the 1990s with like tilapia for every meal, and, you know, like, they don't have any sort of like, they don't have any pursuit of further knowledge. So the more you guys can stay open-minded as a coach, and, you know, constantly do your research, and constantly like listen to your clients, and like, you know, find better ways to service that person individually, that is key. So that kind of leads into number three, is like, listen, like, don't be the sole like talker. Like, I mean, your goal is not to like shove, you know, constant info down people's throats. Like, you need to really listen to your clients and see how they operate, because we all are humans. We all have different ways of how our minds work. Some people are more visual. Some people are more, you know, listen better through audio. Some people need this approach. Some people need this approach. If there's not a one size fits all when it comes to clients, not even with their actual plans, but like how they actually need to be coached. Like, I have some people, you know, my in-person clients, for example, that I could give them an audio cue and they boom, fix it immediately. Others, I need to actually physically like demonstrate with them, do it with them for them to see what I'm saying. Other people, you know, need me to just like, let's say, touch their delt in a lateral raise, and they feel a whole another level of muscle contraction. So when you can better dial in on who your client is and what they need and how they need to be coached, the more successful you're going to be as a coach. So those would be the top three things I would say, other than, of course, your actual education, because you shouldn't be coaching people with no education. Like, I'm sorry. So I would say those are the top three things, aside from obviously a certification and training and nutrition and your education in that field.
Guys, I could not have said that any better. I completely agree with everything that Cassidy said. Something else that I would like to just add to that is trainers who are stuck in their ways, oftentimes you'll see them and they're in the same position year after year after year after year. Trainers who don't treat their clients properly, or who treat their clients poorly, you'll notice that they have a very small recurring client system. So they don't typically keep clients for very long, because they're not treating them the way that the client wants to be treated, right? Now, with regards to the ability to be open-minded, and why so many trainers are just stuck, like you see a lot of this in gyms all across America. What I notice with new trainers, the ones who are like fresh out of college, or who just got done with their personal training certification, CSCS, whatever you want to call it, is this sense or this thought of entitlement. Is, I just got my CSCS. I'm only going to be a sports specific trainer. And it's like, but if you go into the gym and the gym throws 5 female clients at you who are, you know, soccer moms, stay-at-home moms, a 50-year-old woman who just wants to get back in shape, you kind of like snub your nose at that, because you're like, no, I'm an athlete trainer. I do. an opportunity to change somebody's life is an opportunity to change somebody's life. You are not entitled to anything when you're first starting out. Nobody knows you. Nobody respects you. Nothing. Respect with what we do has to be earned in time. Okay. I want you guys to really marinate on that. I want you guys to think about that, because nobody owes you anything. It's up to you to make a name for yourself. You are not entitled. The ability for you to be selective with who you choose to work with, just like Cassidy is right now, to where she can have clients walk into her gym and I'm full. Let me give you somebody that I believe in, that I know can help you. And I'm going to, allow you to work with my trainer. Right? That has to be earned in time. So just be respectful of the fact that people who have the ability to do that, it's only because we've been in the game for years and we've built a successful company. Okay. So be willing to start at the bottom and work your way up. All right. Just for a backstory, a lot of you guys who may not be aware of this, like, I'm in the position I'm in now, and I started working in a gym as the janitor of the gym. Like the one you see when you walk in there to train and he's mopping the bathroom floors and cleaning the water fountains. That was me 10 years ago. Okay. So keep that in mind, guys. Moving forward, I just want to say thank you so much, Cassidy, really quick before we kind of get into the last piece, because the amount of information, the amount of help that you've already provided on this podcast, I feel like is invaluable to so many of the people that are listening to this. I think that a lot of people, whether they're listening to this in their bedrooms at their home or in their own apartment or whatever, they don't have a lot of supportive energy coming to them. So things like this that can be delivered digitally to their computer, wherever they're at, I know is going to be of massive importance. So guys, if you have not done this, please go back through this episode, get yourself a pen and paper and take some notes, guys, because you're really listening to people who have the experience, who have been there, who have done that, who are basically talking about these things to save you the headache of having to go through all of the speed bumps, all the roadblocks that we had to go through in order to get to where we are now. So we're going to liven this up a little bit. We're going to do a rapid fire 5-question Q&A really quick. And I have some interesting questions, but all I want you to do is, like, what's the first thing that pops into your mind when I ask you the next 5 questions? And then we're going to end on a more serious note in regards to kind of like wrapping up the episode. All right. So number 1, what is your favorite thing to do in life?
Travel.
Okay. What do you like? All right. What do you like better, in-person training or online coaching?
Oh
Ooh,
gosh.
that's a tough
I love
one.
them both. You can't do that to me, man. I honestly don't have a preference because I'm impacting somebody's life.
Yeah.
So like, I love both, honestly.
I love the way you answered that. Because they're both so rewarding if you do it the way that you want to do it, right? All right. I know I identified you earlier in the episode as a unicorn, but what is an animal that you identify with?
Man. This is a tough one. Okay. This is probably biased because I've had a horse for majority of my life, but I would say horses, and this is the reason I know the animals so well, is because they run wild and free. They're kind of like fight or flight, and I can be fearful sometimes, like, not gonna lie, so I'm either fight or flight, but when I do go, I just run and I don't stop, and I do everything I can to get there. So I would say that. Yeah.
All right, awesome. What is the first thing you do in the morning when you're trying to make sure you have a super productive day? Like, you wake up, your eyes open up. What's the first thing you do when you know you're going to make it an amazing day?
Coffee. Caffeine. That is, like, literally, I tell Matthew, like, don't talk to me until I have a sip of caffeine. Like, I legitimately cannot do anything without some sort of caffeine. So if I'm going to have a productive day, Celsius or coffee, period.
Nice.
Then
All right. Nice. All right. What's your favorite book of all time?
Ooh. This is a tough one. I would say, and honestly, it's not even a book, it's a devotional, but the Jesus Calling devotional, I think, is my favorite thing, because it's so powerful that, like, no matter what I'm dealing with, the Lord just speaks to me through it. And it seems like it's just like it starts my day in such an amazing way that I feel like I could take it through anything I'm going to do. So I would say Jesus Calling, like it's like the
Amen.
best emotional ever. Yeah.
I love it. All right, awesome. Now we're going to slow it down a little bit.
Yep.
And this is for all of our viewers.
Mm-hmm.
What is your best advice for in-person trainers or
Mm-hmm.
online nutrition coaches
Mm-hmm.
if they're just getting started? Ready? Go.
Yes. If you're just getting started, and this just applies even beyond that, is be true to who you are and love your people. Like, I can't emphasize that enough, because it is so easy, especially with social media, to see the financial gain that you can get with coaching. I mean, you see it all the time, like of, you know, people on these amazing vacations are working from home, they're making 200 grand a month. Like, yeah, that's great. But if you don't love your clients and you are not being 100% with your people, none of it matters. You know, so that's the number one advice I would say, is absolutely stay true to who you are and love your clients, because in the end, like they are your business, period. And if you love what you're doing, like you're changing their lives. So, you know, great if you benefit from changing someone else's life, but you want them to benefit. Like they're coming to you. So if you can impact another person, like that is huge. So don't get caught up in like the success of social media, online coaching. Stay true to who you are and just focus on that, focus on your people, and that success will come in time. But if you chase that off the bat, you're doing it for all the wrong reasons.
Absolutely love that response. So Cassidy, if you could just go ahead and tell everybody who's watching this where they can get a hold of you, where they can check you out, websites, Instagrams, Facebooks, everything.
Okay, cool. So Instagram, I'm on a lot. I do a lot with stories and stuff too. I like to stay connected with you guys. So my Instagram is Cassidy Cuevas, and you can probably link it to this video because everybody butchers how to
Yep.
spell my last name. So
I got you.
Cassidy Cuevas on Instagram. And then on Facebook, same thing as well. If you type Facebook/Cassidy Cuevas, and then you can follow my gym, In Gear Fitness. I do a lot on there too in terms of like posting informational content. So In Gear Fitness on Instagram, and then ingearfitness.net for a website. So, and then if you go on my Instagram page, if you want to become a client with Metabolic, or if you know any other links, I have a link tree linked to my Instagram as well too for any other cool projects and things.
Awesome. Very cool. And before we're just wrapping this up, because I would love for people to really follow your journey, because you have some exciting things coming up. So what is that big event that's coming up really, really soon?
Oh, yeah. So next weekend I'm competing at Orlando Europa. It's the big fitness expo down here. It's kind of like the Arnold, but it's the Europa Orlando. So I'm competing in powerlifting next Saturday. And I'm trying to qualify for IPL Worlds, which is in Ireland later in the year. So if I qualify, that's more than likely the meet that I'm going to do. So that's what I'm super excited about, and trying to PR my total. And yeah, I'm just super excited about that. I've been training.
Speaking of PRs, what are your PRs, Cass?
So currently my squat PR is 280. I've done that in the gym twice so far. So I'm hoping to replicate that, or even a little bit more on the platform. My bench PR right now is 155, and it came up super easily. So I'm excited about that. So again, hoping to do that or a little bit more on the platform. And then my deadlift PR is 325. I'm hoping to hit that, or again, a little bit more come meet day. And I compete in the 123-pound weight class. So
absolutely phenomenal. So obviously, guys, she's a phenomenal human being, phenomenal athlete, phenomenal coach. And I am very, very fortunate to have had this opportunity to interview the one and only Cassidy Cuevas. So Cassidy, thank you so much for being my very first interviewee that I've ever had the opportunity to interview. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to say to everybody that Will is such an amazing person. So like if you really like don't know Will, like he is literally one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. And like I respect him so much. He's been such a huge mentor to me. So if you guys could learn from absolutely anybody, like this is your guy. Like he is as true, genuine as it gets. So I just love to see everything that he's doing. And I just want you guys to lean on him and just understand that he is literally the best human being possible and has the best just interest in all of you guys. So I know he loves so much what he does. So
thank you very much, Cassidy. I appreciate that. All right, guys, this is episode 1, and we are
out.